So do you understand who members of Congress are?
I got it, yeah.
Well,
And you don't care.
Who are we then?
Got the job to do.
You don't care.
We have a job to do.
We're not dangerous people. We're not, I don't know, security. There are no thieves and thugs out here. We're members of Congress. We're parents. We're teachers.
Yeah, the problem is you're Democrats, and that makes you a danger to Western civilization, which is what they aspire to be. So that's a success story for them, I believe. Well, once again, a wonderful Friday. Where are we now? It's February 7th. How many days has Donald Trump been in office now? 18 days? Is that what it is? 18 days. January 20th, February 7th. I have to look at my calendar and do my gazintas. Wah, wah, wah. That was a Democrat member of Congress attacking the Department of Education physically, not verbally, from the floor of the House of Representatives like normal people with functioning brains. But here's the headline. Democrats blocked entry to Education Department. K-U-R-V. Curve. Curve is on the job. Democrat members of Congress say they were denied entry to the Department of Education Friday morning. They could certainly use some education. A group of about a dozen Democrat lawmakers showed up outside the Department of Education building trying to meet acting Secretary of Education Denise Carter. Well, you could meet the actual Secretary of Education if you guys weren't obstructing progress in your anti-progressive, commie pig dog way. This comes as President Trump is reportedly planning to sign an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. Among the group were California Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who's certifiably insane, and Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost. Maxwell Frost. I love that his song, Nothing Can Change the Shape of Things to Come, right? Max Frost and the Troopers. Now, that's an obscure movie and music reference there. The lawmakers said the building's doors were being blocked by an unidentified man who claimed to be a federal employee. Was he unelected? As I know that you guys are obsessed with unelected people, right? Like Elon Musk, and maybe he was unelected. He's a white man. I saw there's video there. And he looks like a person of substance, the man blocking the door from these lunatics, honestly. Now, here's a little something to pay attention to when it comes to our Department of Education, and that is that since we created the Department of Education, our test scores and our educational success has been steadily declining because the Democrats said, hey, education's not doing very well in the United States of America. Let's create a federal agency to make it better. And then they created a federal agency, and guess what? They made it worse because that's what Democrats do. They're the left. In fact, the Fox News Channel has a story today on Al Gore's amazing internet. And the headline is, Abysmal Reading Math Scores Driving Push for Trump to Abolish Failing Education Department. And Congressman Burgess Owens, Republican from the great state of Utah, beautiful state of Utah, on President Trump floated plan to shut down the Department of Education and, the importance of giving parents and states more control over education and President Trump's executive order to protect women's sports. The Democrats, they don't want women in sports. They want men to go home with all the trophies from women's sports because they're very unwell. They genuinely are. But it turns out that since the Department of Education was created, our educational scores, our test scores have not been improving. Very much the opposite is true. And we measure ourselves against Japan and the European Union and France. And, we're not doing much better than like Aruba. I think that our educational standards should be higher than Aruba's, but the left, I've been saying this for years, and the left is the third world. Right? The Democrat Party is not made up of liberals anymore. The Democrat Party is the left. People that call themselves Democrats are not liberals. They're the left. And the left is, in a nutshell, and they belong in a nutshell, the third world. Everywhere the left takes over, they create the third world. And the left here, calling themselves the Democrat Party, they're in the process of turning the United States into just another third world country, just another beep hole country, because that's what they do. Now, how much money has USAID and other government agencies given to the Clinton Foundation to make Haiti a livable country? Haiti. Apparently billions between USAID and other government agencies to the Clinton Foundation because they said they were going to fix Haiti. And now Barbecue the Cannibal is in charge, and they come into Ohio and eat your cats and dogs. Hey, they didn't eat the cats and dogs. Oh, yeah? What happened to all the cats and dogs? Well, they got these belching Haitians over here, and all the cats and dogs are gone. All right, not really. I just made that part up. That's not true. Womp, womp, womp. Honestly, President Trump preparing to revamp Department of Education as math reading scores show stunning lows. Moms for Liberty founder says parents need more choice when it comes to their kids' education and less DEI and CRT, that's, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and critical race theory, which is racist by these racists that call themselves Democrats, and less SEL. What's SEL, Jeff? I don't even know what SEL is. I'm sure we don't want more of it, though. Amazing stuff. So Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice said on Tuesday that President Donald Trump plans to dismantling what some see as the woke Department of Education as math and reading scores hit shocking lows. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress Changes, naturally the NAEP, you can call it the NAEP if you want, 40% of fourth graders and 33% of eighth graders are reading below basic level. Basic reading levels don't even meet basic reading levels. And only 40% of fourth graders and 28% of eighth graders are performing at proficient level or advanced level for math. Now, those numbers ought to be alarming, but we just yawn and say, no, that's fine. No, we expect a bunch of idiots because the Democrats know the dumber they are, the less educated they are, the more likely they are to vote for Democrats. Just amazing stuff. And again, shouldn't the Department of Education be making everything better? The governors were saying that parents want more choice. We've seen on top of academic failure this toxic soup of SEL and DEI and CRT. The president has taken executive action on those issues, and the governor said, give us more power in the states. And then the states will compete, and we'll have, and it was one of the great things about federalism, and the state of California can compete with the state of Texas and the state of Illinois and watch all the Democrats fail and produce morons who end up in prison because Democrats make money off of prison, I think, don't they? And they have their friends and their for-profit prisons. So just amazing stuff. The Department of Education has failed, and it's time that we took another look at why we're failing so miserably when it comes to education in the United States of America. Now, again, outside of the Department of Education, we had Maxine Waters, we had a bunch of Democrats, members of Congress, not just dim-witted street rabble that burn police cars, which the Democrats are fond of doing, but Democrat members of Congress like Maxine Waters and others who are trying to breach the entrance to the Department of Education, right? And a security man A tall, sturdy-looking Caucasian man, an apparent member of the patriarchy, stood in the doorway with his arms crossed, shaking his head and rolling his eyes and saying, no, it's you can't just come up in a mob and storm the front door of a government agency, but we're members of Congress. Well, you shouldn't be. And it sounded like this morning, Friday morning, at the Department of Education in Washington, D.C.
Were you told, are you making this decision to stand in front of this door on your own behalf, on behalf of the Department of Education, or were you told to come out here and block members of Congress from going to the desk?
I'm doing my job.
So everybody's freelancing.
What is that?
We're doing our jobs.
We're trying to save your job.
It's a non-responsive.
Show them your ID.
Show them your education. Maxine Waters, show your education. And the guy's standing there, and he's like, sorry, you can't just, you're a violent mob of brain-dead rabble.
Were you told to stand here, or did you decide to stand here and block members of Congress from entering the Department of Education?
To federal buildings.
He's a security rules.
We're allowed in there.
So a private security contractor
Do you know who members of Congress are?
members of
We're all
Congress.
members of Congress.
Maybe he doesn't understand. Do you
A private
understand who
security
members of Congress are?
contractor is making the decision to block members of Congress from a public access entrance.
It's a government department, and the mere fact that you work for the government. So is every government employee in the country entitled to walk through the front door of any government department or agency at any time? Let's just say during working hours, or is it just members of Congress? You elitists that you are. Somebody needs to explain this to me. Remarkable stuff. Well, Maxine Waters got her bachelor's degree from Cal State Los Angeles. Cal State Law, and she's got a degree in nothing.
I don't think he knows.
You have the authority as a private security contractor to block members of Congress. That has been knighted and granted to you.
Knighted and granted as a private contractor. How does she know he's a private contractor? And even if he is a private contractor, didn't you people in Congress vote to save a little bit of money here and there by having private contractor instead of making the entire country a government employee?
You have to at least let us go to the desk.
Yeah.
Oh, no cursing. That's it. Gonna have to slap her now. Who told you to do this? Open the door. They're storming. They're planning on storming the castle. This is the Democrat House of Representatives, right? And they just they're a violent gang of rabble, and they're gender dysphoric, and they should all be sterilized. Maxine Waters is 86 years old. She should probably still be sterilized like that Democrat in Michigan, just in case. We want to be on the safe side. And they're demanding to see. They don't make an appointment. They don't make a phone call. They just lie about everything. Amazing, amazing stuff. Democrats demand answers on Trump plans for education department. The left-wing Hill reporting here today, and just amazing stuff. President Trump's former Secretary of the Department of Education, Betsy DeVos, wonderful, was talking about this yesterday, and former Trump Education Secretary calls for a department to be shuttered as cutting spree looks for next target. This is Politico, which got more than $8 million from the federal government. But then they say, oh, it's okay. Those are just the subscriptions to look at our stuff online, right? Okay, did you give $8 million to Breitbart, to the Daily Caller, to the Washington Times? Who else got millions and millions of taxpayer dollars for online subscriptions? But good for Betsy DeVos. She's great. Her brother's great. Her father, great. Great family. Wonderful American story. I'll listen to Betsy DeVos on this. Shutter the Department of Education. I think that's wonderful. High five, Betsy DeVos. There's a congressman who is trying to storm the Department of Education this morning. His name is Max Frost, and he's a radical left-wing extremist from Florida who hates America. And Maxwell Frost. And every time I see he was with Maxine Waters today, tells you everything you need to know. They might be dating, but I don't want to conjecture any further. And they're trying to storm the front door of the Department of Education, which didn't work out for him because there was one sane person there, the security person. But every time I see Congressman Maxwell Frost, I know, like all of you, I think of Max Frost and the Troopers, the band that we just played right there, and their great hit song, Nothing Can Change the Shape of Things to Come. Because, and that's from an obscure movie from 1968 called Wild in the Streets with Christopher Jones, and that's an amazing story that goes to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I won't get into all that now. Max Frost and the Troopers, Maxwell Frost. I do go to some obscure places on occasion, don't I? Yes, I do. So the Trump administration talking about shutting down the Department of Education, and that could be a good idea, given that they've been a catastrophic failure. And Linda McMahon, right, is in line to become the Secretary of the Department of Education, but the Democrat Party is obstructing all of that because of their misogyny. They hate women in positions of responsibility. They're against all of that. Amazing. Did you see that the Federal Communications Administration under President Trump has released, there's a lawsuit going on because CBS 60 Minutes corruptly edited the Kamala Harris interview that they did where they were really there to, give her a hot oil massage. And now the fully unedited video from the corrupt interview that 60 Minutes used to be such a great institution in journalism. The interview at the center of a lawsuit, right, by President Trump because CBS News tampering in the presidential election by getting their sit-down hot oil massage with then presidential candidate Kamala Harris, believe it or not. And then CBS News edited the snot out of it to make her look great. And that's problematic. Well, because of the lawsuit, CBS News was forced to turn over the transcript and the complete unedited video. So the FCC has released the unedited version, and you can compare it to the edited version, where you will see it drips with political corruption on the part of CBS News. Sad. Yes. All right, well, how much can I get in before I have to go on to my next mission? I was talking a little while ago about a man in Indiana who's blind and wanted to make a political point. So he went down and got a license to get a firearm, and then he got a firearm, and he thinks that will prove to people that we need to have more strict firearms laws because he's obviously a Democrat, right? So we've got that. And while we were talking about that, well, there are people out there listening, thankfully. And with that, I'd like to go to the phones, Jeff. And let's go to line 5. Let's go to Mark, calling from the great state of South Carolina. Mark, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, sir. I'm totally blind and a big old conservative. And I got all kind of guns, Chris. I got an AK-47, a 12-gauge I keep above the door, a 40, a 44, a 45, 2 357s, a 38. Well, you get the idea. A couple of thousand rounds of ammo. And I buy most of my guns from a friend of mine who's also totally blind and a huge trumper, but he used to not be blind and was in the Army. And when he went to get his concealed carry, they said, well, what do you want this for? And he said, to buy guns at gun shows without waiting. They said, all right, sir, here it is. And he's got one.
He's got his concealed carry.
Yes, sir, and he's totally blind, but he used to be in the Army before he went blind, obviously. So I buy most of my guns from him, so the government don't know I got them. Because why would a blind man have an AK-47 or many of the other guns? And I didn't list them all. I didn't want to take up your time. So according to government, I'm blind.
I didn't list them
guns.
all. That's great. That's wonderful. All right, now let me ask this, because there might be some people out there listening who are saying, well, ask Mark. You're blind. You got an AR-15. What do you shoot? What do you use your AR-15 for?
Oh, no, it's an AK-47. It's bigger. It takes a bigger round than the AR.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I don't shoot them, but I listen out. I got big dogs. I'm out in the country. If I hear or smell Democrats, well, I might pull one out and go to blasting.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Now.
But no, I don't shoot them. I collect them. I collect guns.
I see. Okay. Now, let me ask, when it comes to your household protection, you live out in the country, you said.
Yes, sir.
And now, do you feel, and I was talking about this, and I said, a blind man living at home alone, I wasn't even thinking out in the country. I was thinking in the city. It's where my brain is, I guess. But, if somebody's bashing at your front door, do you feel confident that you could defend yourself with a firearm?
I've got 3-inch magnums in my 12-gauge short-barrel Mossberg. I feel pretty, if the dogs don't get them, I can shoot toward the sound. I ain't going to miss with that 12 with them 3-inch magnums, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's what I was saying.
Sir.
Yeah, I was saying, if you're blind, you're at home, you should probably have a stagecoach gun, a short-barreled, double-barrel side by side, and, that'll take out the whole doorway, right?
It should. And I don't even have to pump it. It's a semi-auto. Just flip the safety and bam, 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 bam.
See?
7 shells. So
you may be blind, but don't invade your home.
No, sir. I wouldn't recommend it at all.
Yeah.
Especially while you're on, because I don't want to miss your show. Don't do it now, boys and girls.
That is hilarious. That is great. I love that. And your friend, Army veteran, blind, also firearms collector, and FFL he's probably an FFL guy, right? Federal firearms license, and it's all legal and dandy and fine, and you're not worried that you don't know how to operate and you don't know how to defend yourself.
Not in the slightest. I know how to load these guns, and I know how to shoot them. I don't like the bruise that the 3-inch mags will give me, but if somebody's trying to come in here, it'll be worth it to kill them.
Yeah, the bruise that the 3-inch magnums will give you. That is great stuff. Man, Mark, that's wonderful. And you listen to the show every day, huh?
Love the show. Me and the wife love it, and we watch it on TV at night. We have to record it because she has to work the next day. Love the show. You make me laugh a lot. You're great.
That is so great. That makes me very happy. It really does. That's a great Friday. I'm really glad that you called in today, Mark, because it's that's a wonderful story, a happy Friday story. This is one I'm going to be telling at the dinner table.
Great talking to you, sir. You have a great day.
Thank you, buddy. You too. That's wonderful. What a great call. That was great. And I knew I was talking about earlier how blind men, blind people own firearms. You can honestly you got a Derringer, you got a stagecoach gun. You're doing household protection. You live out in the country. I was literally in my mind, I was thinking about urban environments, a city setting. Where still in your home, in your apartment, wherever you may be, a handgun, a Derringer, whatever, you can defend yourself. A blind person can defend himself with a firearm. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And if criminals think, he's blind, he can't, what can he do? Womp, womp, womp. Take that. Why don't you? Remarkable stuff. All right, now let's get to some audio here, Jeff, because I've been doing a poor job of that today. And let's go. We can start soundbite number 1, since that's where I didn't start earlier. CNN. Remember CNN? It used to be a cable news channel, and it's not anymore. Now it's just a Democrat front group. So they got Jim Abilio Acosta out there attacking the Trump. He got fired, but attacking the Trump administration today. He's desperately trying to be relevant. Nobody likes him though. So listen to this. They've got a panel on CNN. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been involved in swearing in a number of cabinet officials for the Trump administration. because if you're being sworn in as a cabinet official in the Trump administration, and somebody said, "Hey, who would you like to have swear you in?" You might say, Kamala Harris. I don't know who you might, but you might say Clarence Thomas. And Clarence Thomas agreed in more than one instance to swear in incoming members of the Trump administration. And the Democrats are racists, as everybody knows. And you may remember it was Joe Biden, as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, that presided over the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas during his confirmation hearing all those years ago. And the Democrats are filled with hatred for almost everyone. They like Pol Pot and Joseph Stalin and I think Charles Manson and Sirhan, but they don't like most people. And the people at the Fox News Channel did a story. Clarence Thomas swearing in multiple Trump cabinet officials raises eyebrows at CNN. Attorney General Bondi was sworn into office on Wednesday by Justice Thomas. And Fox News is not attacking, but they're pointing out CNN host Dana Bash, whose husband worked in now ex-husband, of course, Jeremy Bash, worked in the Obama administration, naturally, and became one of the frauds that signed on to that criminal tampering in the presidential election, felonious 51 letter by people that pretend to be intelligence officials. But CNN host Dana Bash raised questions on Thursday about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas swearing in multiple Trump administration officials in recent weeks, and it sounded kind of like this.
Please raise your right hand again and again and again. That's what we heard from Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who's emerging as the go-to justice to swear in Donald Trump's cabinet, overseeing ceremonies at the Supreme Court, at the White House, even at his own home, all while he and his wife, a longtime conservative activist, are drawing exceptional attention from President Trump. CNN's Joan Biskupic is here with new reporting that she has with Jeff Zeleny about the closeness between Trump and the Thomases and the questions that these swearing-in ceremonies kind of open the door to. Not that there's anything untoward about doing it, it's just what it symbolizes.
What the hell are you talking about? First of all, nobody can be named Joan Biskupic, but okay. And it raises questions. Not that there is anything, what she just contradicted herself in this sort of cognitive dissonance, the intellectual disconnect. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but won't raise eyebrows, but that's what we're doing. Not that there's anything untoward about doing it. It's just what it symbolizes. What the hell does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. You should get a dictionary and a thesaurus and see if you know what those words mean. Amazing stuff. I don't have a very strong memory of cabinet officials having swearing-ins of any Supreme Court justice. You mean of any? You mean by any? Amazing. Then they go to this person apparently named Joan Biskupic.
Particularly, we were talking as we were coming on, and I don't have a very strong memory of cabinet, and Laura's still here too, of cabinet officials having swearing-ins of any Supreme Court justice.
That's because it's traditionally been done by the Vice President of the United States.
Oh, well, that explains it then, Joan. Thank you. That it's traditionally been done by the Vice President of the United States, said Joan Biskupic, honestly. And they're not done yet because and wait a minute, and Clarence Thomas's wife, a longtime conservative activist. Well, Dana Bash, a longtime Democrat Party activist. I used to know Dana Bash. I used to work in the same room as Dana Bash. And maybe, how about your husband? Is he a longtime Democrat Party apparatchik? And are you a fake journalist? And the politics in this city is just embarrassing. Biskupic.
But just think of all the people that Clarence Thomas did. Yesterday, it was Pam Bondi for Attorney General and Scott Turner for the Housing and Urban Development Office. Earlier in that same day, he was at the Supreme Court doing Doug Collins for the Veterans Administration. Last week, he did Sean Duffy for Department of Transportation. And as you focused on, Kristi Noem at his own house on January 25th. And what Jeff Zeleny found out when we started putting together this pattern was that Donald Trump specifically asked for Justice Thomas to be handling these oath ceremonies.
Oh, no. Can you believe that? Well, that's because they're not the Democrat Party, the party of lynch mobs and bullwhips and plantations and Confederate States of America belt buckles, party of Abraham Lincoln. And I had Democrats attacking Abraham Lincoln earlier today on the program. These people. Now, what does this have to do with anything? And the answer is nothing. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. But on CNN, this apparently is raising eyebrows, even though they're saying it's not raising eyebrows. And they're doing segments. It should be, hey, look at this. The Trump administration had a number of cabinet secretaries sworn in by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who has one of the greatest records of any Supreme Court justice in the history of the United States Supreme Court, if you have any idea what you're talking about, which Dana Bash obviously does not. And this other woman with a ridiculous name that nobody's ever heard before, swore in Pam Bondi, and then this cabinet secretary and that cabinet secretary. Well, you guys should probably wise up, and CNN trying to make something out of nothing.
And the reason it gets our attention is because Ginny Thomas especially has wanted to be part of a Trump administration.
Well, and give us just a little bit of the background.
Based on nothing.
Yes,
not just a conservative activist.
During the first administration, she was regularly in contact with top White House officials. And then we know in 2020, when Donald Trump lost that election to Joe Biden, she was somebody imploring Mark Meadows, then the chief of staff, to keep fighting. And the January 6th committee found all sorts of emails that she had sent.
Oh, no, she sent emails to her friends. Now, Ginny Thomas is a friend of mine. Justice Clarence Thomas is a friend of mine and my best girls. And my best girl and Clarence Thomas have all kinds of things in common where they grew up and family ties and all kinds of fun things, coincidentally. And Ginny and I have been friends for many years. And she has friends that worked in the Trump White House. And she emailed her friends. And she spoke on the phone to her friends. And the news media thinks it's inappropriate for people to talk to their friends on the phone or to email with their friends if the Democrat Party objects. The Democrat Party is like a death cult. So I haven't even gotten to that transgender death cult that's murdering people, including a Border Patrol agent in Vermont. They're transgender death cultists. Just amazing. So CNN trying to make hay out of that, and to no avail, but they're smugly smirking, insinuating, suggesting that there's something inappropriate here, when, of course, there absolutely is not. You could have Ketanji Brown Jackson swear everybody in for you, and she could call the men women and the women men because she doesn't know what a woman is, and she's a Supreme Court justice who apparently has the IQ of a newt. What's a newt? You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here, and the new model builds on the incredible success of previous generations, and those generations earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet, became a bestseller in no time at all. And the new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that scientific studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses in the air. Also, it takes care of dust and pet dander and smoke and a whole lot more. Helps keep the air that you breathe clean and fresh. No filters to buy and replace again and again. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. I'm talking about musty basements and your mother-in-law's spending and left-wing protesters. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And right now, because you hang with me, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. Put one on every floor. Put one in your teenager's room. Put one any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS, the number 3, to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yeah, CNN I think for a while it was a news organization way back when. Then something went terribly wrong. All right, now, the Democrat Party is pro-illegal alien. They're pro-Venezuelan gangs. Now there are Chilean gangs all over the country, too. Caught that guy in New England recently, about a year ago, I guess, who was escaped from prison in Chile after having been convicted of 11 murders. And he was working at somebody's house in New Hampshire, I think. But Pam Bondi, the brand new Attorney General of the United States of America, formerly Attorney General of Florida, was out there yesterday saying that they're going to sue and bring charges against sanctuary city Democrats like Chicago Mayor Let's Go Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker, the inherited billionaire. Pam Bondi yesterday on the Democrats loving illegal alien gang members coming into the country.
They are choosing illegal aliens over the safety and security of their own citizens and the men and women of law enforcement who are out there trying to protect their citizens.
That sounds like the wrong thing to do, and they're involved in a criminal enterprise, the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi.
Not only did we sue today the city of Chicago, we sued the state of Illinois, we sued the mayor, we sued the governor, and we sued others. And let me be very clear, if you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
Wow, it's the law. It's federal law. Also, ICE was rounding up Tren de Aragua. We call them TDA now because we like shorthand. Venezuelan gang members in Colorado having taken over apartment complexes and stuff. And they went to conduct this raid to get 100 gang members. And when they got there, they found blood-spattered walls, and all the gang members were gone because they believed the news media tipped off the gang members. The law enforcement were working with the news media, said, you can come with us on the raids. And the news media tipped off the gang members, so the gang members fled, and they only found the blood of the innocents. The Democrat Party is the news media. The Democrat Party is Tren de Aragua. Have a great American weekend.